Hidden beneath centuries of dust and silence, a forgotten archive within Windsor Castle holds a secret that could shake the British monarchy to its core. When a respected palace historian uncovers a sealed document long believed destroyed, whispers of scandal ripple through royal corridors. What begins as routine research spirals into a revelation so explosive that it threatens to rewrite history and end Camilla's royal standing forever. For decades, the historian had served the crown with unwavering discretion, a silent guardian of the monarchy's recorded memory. Known among palace circles for a brilliance matched only by an unbreakable sense of loyalty, this scholar had earned the rare privilege of accessing the most restricted royal archives. Trusted by monarchs, advisors, and courtiers alike, the historian moved through Windsor Castle not as an outsider, but as a custodian of truth, one entrusted with preserving the delicate narrative upon which the monarchy's legitimacy rested. Beneath the grandeur of Windsor's ancient stone walls lay a labyrinth of forgotten corridors and guarded vaults, where centuries of royal secrets were sealed away from the world. These archives, untouched by time and shielded by tradition, held documents that charted the triumphs and scandals of the British crown. Few were granted entry, and fewer still understood the weight of the truths hidden within those shadowed chambers. It was here, amid brittle parchment and fading ink, that history whispered its most dangerous confessions. What began as a routine cataloging of neglected records soon took an unexpected turn. Tucked behind a false ledger, its spine deliberately misaligned, lay a document bound in aged parchment and sealed with crimson wax bearing an unmistakable royal crest. The seal, cracked but intact, suggested a message once deemed too perilous to destroy, yet too dangerous to reveal. Its concealment was no accident. It was a deliberate act of preservation, executed with chilling precision by hands that feared its contents might one day resurface. As the historian examined the document, subtle clues emerged: annotations in a long-forgotten hand, cryptic marginalia, and a faded royal insignia dating back generations. Each detail pointed to a calculated effort by previous monarchs to conceal the truth. The discovery sent a tremor through the historian's composure. Shock gave way to disbelief, and disbelief to a quiet, growing dread. The air seemed heavier, as though the past itself had stirred, demanding to be heard. The first lines of the document hinted at a revelation of staggering consequence. Though the words remained partially obscured by time, their implication was unmistakable. They spoke not merely of scandal, but of legitimacy, of a truth that, if exposed, could unravel decades of carefully curated history and cast a shadow over Queen Camilla's royal standing. The realization struck with devastating clarity. This was no forgotten relic. It was a weapon forged by history itself. A storm of emotions surged within the historian: fear, awe, and an unrelenting sense of responsibility. To reveal the document would risk igniting a constitutional crisis and shattering public trust in the crown. To conceal it would betray the very purpose of history: to illuminate truth, no matter how inconvenient. The weight of centuries seemed to press upon a single choice, and in that moment, loyalty and integrity stood in silent opposition. Whispers began to ripple through the palace, carried on hushed voices and guarded glances. Staff spoke of a rediscovered scandal, a secret buried deep within royal memory. Though no one dared speak openly, the tension was unmistakable. Something had been unearthed, something capable of altering the course of the monarchy itself. But as the historian begins to decipher the document's origins, the trail leads back decades to a love story that divided a nation. Before crowns were placed and titles bestowed, there was a romance the world could not ignore. A love affair marked by passion, betrayal, and controversy ignited public fury and royal unrest. Yet behind the headlines lay secrets hidden from the public eye, secrets that now, decades later, threaten to resurface with devastating consequences for Camilla and the monarchy itself. Long before the weight of the crown settled upon his shoulders, Charles was a young prince bound by duty yet drawn by desire. Into his world stepped Camilla, confident, charismatic, and disarmingly genuine. Their connection was immediate, almost inevitable, a meeting of spirits that defied expectation. In her presence, the future king found comfort and understanding, a rare refuge from the relentless scrutiny of royal life. But what began as affection soon evolved into something far more dangerous, a love that challenged tradition, unsettled the monarchy, and whispered of rebellion against centuries of protocol. As their bond deepened, the world took notice. The press, ever vigilant, transformed private affection into public spectacle. Headlines erupted with speculation, rumors, and accusations, feeding a growing storm of outrage that swept across the nation. To many, Camilla became a symbol of defiance, an outsider whose presence threatened the sanctity of the crown. Public fury intensified, and with it came a relentless media frenzy that cast the monarchy into one of its most turbulent chapters. Every whisper, every glance, every rumor became fodder for a scandal that refused to fade. Behind palace walls, tension simmered. Courtiers spoke in hushed tones, advisors deliberated in secrecy, and senior members of the royal household confronted a crisis they feared could spiral into constitutional turmoil. The possibility of scandal loomed large, threatening not only reputations but the very stability of the institution itself. Resistance grew within the palace, fueled by tradition and duty, as officials struggled to contain a narrative that seemed impossible to control. The crown, built upon centuries of carefully guarded decorum, faced an emotional and political storm unlike any it had encountered before. The turmoil reached its most profound depths within the royal family itself. Divisions widened, loyalties were tested, and private confrontations unfolded in quiet corridors where history had often turned on whispered words. The emotional cost was staggering. Duty demanded sacrifice, yet the human heart refused to yield. In this crucible of expectation and desire, the monarchy's most personal conflict unfolded, one that would leave scars destined to shape its future for generations. Amid this storm stood the luminous figure of Princess Diana, whose grace and vulnerability captured the world's devotion. Her presence transformed public perception, casting the unfolding drama in stark contrast between love and loss, loyalty and betrayal. Diana's legacy became a defining force, shaping the narrative that followed and cementing Camilla's place at the center of controversy. Sympathy, sorrow, and outrage intertwined, ensuring that the past would never be forgotten, even as time marched forward. Yet history has a way of reshaping itself. Gradually, and against formidable odds, Camilla's image began to evolve. Through quiet resilience and unwavering composure, she navigated the tempest of public scrutiny, emerging not as a villain, but as a figure of endurance. Years passed, and perceptions softened. Acceptance replaced hostility, and the monarchy, ever adaptive, ushered her into its inner sanctum. Titles were bestowed, ceremonies observed, and a once scandalous romance was recast as destiny fulfilled. But beneath this carefully restored narrative lingered an unsettling truth one never fully revealed. For even as the world embraced the transformation, whispers of secrecy endured. The document unearthed within Windsor's hidden archives suggested that the truth extended far beyond the headlines and public reconciliations. Its origins, predating the royal marriage, hinted at concealed decisions and silent compromises, acts undertaken not out of malice, but in the desperate pursuit of stability. If revealed, such truths could shatter the fragile equilibrium upon which the monarchy depended. And so, as the historian delves deeper into the past, the document's origin reveals a chilling possibility, one that challenges the very legitimacy of Camilla's royal title. Bound in crimson wax and stamped with a royal crest, the document bears the unmistakable authority of a monarch long gone. Its words, written in haste yet sealed with finality, reveal a truth so controversial it was buried for generations. As the historian deciphers its contents, one chilling question emerges. Was Camilla's ascent to royalty built upon a secret the crown never intended to reveal? The parchment itself seemed to breathe with the weight of centuries, its edges brittle with age, its surface marked by the faint scars of time. A faded royal insignia pressed into the wax bore the authority of a sovereign whose reign had shaped the destiny of the modern monarchy. Beneath it, delicate script flowed in archaic language, punctuated by coded annotations and cryptic symbols that suggested concealment rather than preservation. Every detail spoke of intention. This was not merely a record, it was a warning, hidden in plain sight and shielded by tradition. Carefully, methodically, the historian began the painstaking task of decipherment. Each word demanded patience, each phrase an understanding of royal protocol long forgotten. The language was formal, almost ceremonial, yet beneath its elegance lurked an unmistakable urgency. Marginal notes, written in a different hand, hinted at edits, revisions, and deliberate omissions. Lines had been subtly altered, passages masked with ambiguity, as though the truth had been softened but never erased. The deeper the historian read, the more the document revealed not clarity, but calculated silence. Then came the passage that shattered all doubt. The text did not accuse, it questioned. In restrained yet unmistakable terms, it cast uncertainty upon the legitimacy of Camilla's royal standing, raising implications so profound they threatened to disrupt the carefully constructed narrative of modern monarchy. The revelation did not scream. It whispered with devastating precision. It suggested that her path to the crown had been shadowed by decisions made in secrecy, sanctioned by authority, and buried to preserve stability. The words carried no overt scandal, yet their implication was undeniable. If exposed, they could alter the perception of an entire era. As realization settled in, a quiet storm of emotion gripped the historian. Shock gave way to dread, and dread to an overwhelming sense of responsibility. The discovery was not merely historical, it was explosive. To reveal it could ignite a constitutional crisis, fracture public trust, and cast an irreversible shadow over the crown. To conceal it, however, would betray the very purpose of history. The historian stood suspended between loyalty and truth, burdened by the knowledge that a single decision could reshape the monarchy's future. Evidence of deliberate suppression soon emerged with chilling clarity. Archival references had been altered, catalog entries subtly misfiled, and entire correspondences conspicuously absent. The document's concealment behind a false ledger was no accident. It was the final act of a calculated effort to ensure silence. Generations had passed, yet the intention remained unmistakable. Someone had feared its revelation, and had gone to extraordinary lengths to ensure it remained hidden. More unsettling still was the realization that the historian was not the first to encounter its shadow. Faint markings suggested prior examination, annotations left incomplete, as though another hand had once attempted to decipher the truth before retreating into silence. Within the palace, subtle glances and hushed conversations hinted at unspoken awareness. Some knew or suspected, and had chosen discretion over disclosure. The silence was not ignorance, it was complicity. As whispers of the discovery began to ripple through royal corridors, tension thickened within the palace walls. Insiders spoke cautiously, their words cloaked in ambiguity, their expressions betraying unease. No official acknowledgement was made, yet the air hummed with anticipation. The secret, long entombed within Windsor's archives, had stirred, and its awakening threatened to unravel the fragile equilibrium upon which the monarchy depended. Yet the document's origins reveal an even darker truth, one rooted in palace intrigue and silent conspiracies. Behind the glittering fade of royal ceremonies lies a world of whispered secrets and silent power struggles. The newly uncovered document suggests a conspiracy that spans generations, one designed to protect the monarchy at any cost. As the historian uncovers hidden correspondences and coded references, the question becomes unavoidable. How far would the crown go to safeguard its legacy? The discovery of the sealed document was not an isolated anomaly, but the first thread in a tapestry of concealment. As the historian delved deeper into Windsor's guarded archives, additional fragments emerged: forgotten letters, redacted correspondences, and catalog entries altered with deliberate precision. Each piece hinted at a coordinated effort to suppress a truth deemed too dangerous for public scrutiny. Patterns formed where none should exist, linking decades of royal stewardship to a single, unspoken objective: preservation at any price. What began as suspicion hardened into certainty. The silence was not accidental, it was orchestrated. Subtle clues pointed toward the involvement of senior courtiers and royal advisors, figures whose loyalty to the crown was unquestioned and whose discretion was legendary. Marginal notes bore familiar signatures, their presence both cryptic and damning. These were not the actions of rogue individuals, but of a system designed to shield the monarchy from scandal. Decisions had been made in quiet chambers, sealed behind protocol and privilege, where reputation outweighed revelation. The historian realized with growing unease that this secret had been protected not by chance, but by design. Such concealment was not unprecedented. For centuries, the palace had perfected the art of silence. Tradition demanded dignity, and dignity demanded control. Scandals had been softened, narratives rewritten, and inconvenient truths quietly buried beneath layers of ceremony and decorum. Damage control was not merely a response, it was an institution. The crown had endured wars, betrayals, and revolutions. Its survival depended on the careful management of perception. Yet the document now unearthed suggested that this tradition of secrecy had crossed a perilous threshold, transforming preservation into conspiracy. As the historian continued to assemble the hidden fragments, the emotional stakes intensified. Pressure arrived not as threats, but as quiet persuasion, measured words, veiled warnings, and subtle reminders of duty. Loyalty to the crown was invoked with solemn reverence, as though the truth itself were an adversary. The weight of expectation pressed heavily, demanding silence in exchange for stability. Torn between integrity and allegiance, the historian stood alone, haunted by the realization that revealing the document could fracture the monarchy's fragile equilibrium. Rumors soon surfaced of clandestine meetings within Buckingham Palace, gatherings conducted behind sealed doors where no record was kept and no voice raised above a whisper. Advisors deliberated in secrecy, drafting orders that would never be acknowledged, their purpose understood but never spoken. The atmosphere thickened with anticipation, each decision cloaked in ambiguity. Something was unfolding within the highest corridors of power, a silent reckoning shaped by fear, loyalty, and the relentless need to preserve the crown's unblemished image. History offered chilling precedents. Royal scandals had vanished into obscurity, their echoes fading beneath carefully curated narratives. Abdications, betrayals, and forbidden alliances had once threatened the throne, only to be reshaped into dignified silence. Each crisis had been met with calculated restraint, reinforcing the monarchy's enduring mystique. Yet this discovery felt different, more dangerous, more consequential. It suggested not merely the concealment of scandal, but the deliberate rewriting of truth itself. The tension between loyalty and historical truth grew unbearable. The historian's conscience demanded disclosure, yet the gravity of the revelation cast a long and uncertain shadow. To speak was to risk igniting a constitutional crisis, one that could challenge the legitimacy of a reigning queen and unsettle the foundations of the modern monarchy. To remain silent was to become complicit in a deception that spanned generations. And so the question lingered, unspoken yet inescapable. How far would the crown go to protect its legacy, and at what cost? The answer, buried within the labyrinth of secrecy, threatened to unravel everything. But secrets rarely remain buried forever, and the past begins to cast a long and dangerous shadow over the present. As rumors of the discovery ripple through palace corridors, fear grips those closest to the throne. Whispers of betrayal, treason, and deception echo behind closed doors. Could the document expose a truth so devastating that it threatens not only Camilla's position, but the stability of the monarchy itself? The stakes have never been higher, and the silence grows deafening. Within the inner circles of Buckingham Palace, the revelation did not arrive with fanfare, but with a chilling quiet that spoke louder than any proclamation. Senior officials, seasoned in discretion and bound by generations of loyalty, reacted with measured composure that barely concealed their alarm. Conversations turned cautious, meetings lengthened into the late hours, and familiar faces bore the unmistakable strain of uncertainty. No official statement was issued, yet the atmosphere within the palace shifted perceptibly, heavy with unspoken dread. The discovery had ignited a crisis that no ceremony or tradition could easily contain. Secrecy tightened its grip on every corridor of power. Doors closed more quickly. Voices softened. Messages were delivered through trusted intermediaries rather than written records, as though the very act of documentation had become a liability. The monarchy, long practiced in the art of silence, now confronted a threat not from external scandal, but from within its own carefully guarded history. Advisors weighed their words with precision, mindful that even the faintest admission could trigger consequences beyond control. The crown, so often a symbol of stability, now found itself shadowed by uncertainty. Within the royal household, the emotional toll was profound. Loyalties were tested as never before, dividing confidants and challenging the fragile equilibrium that held the institution together. Private conversations carried the weight of centuries, each word measured against duty and devotion. Some urged caution, insisting that silence was essential to preserve the dignity of the crown. Others, burdened by conscience, questioned whether truth could remain buried without eroding the monarchy's integrity. The conflict was not merely political, it was deeply personal, striking at the heart of those sworn to protect the royal legacy. Speculation soon intensified, fueled by whispers that the document implicated high-ranking figures in a carefully orchestrated cover-up. The suggestion alone was enough to unsettle the palace's most trusted advisors. If the allegations proved credible, they would expose not only a concealed truth but a network of decisions made in secrecy to safeguard the monarchy's image. The implications were staggering. Generations of guardianship, once celebrated as acts of preservation, now risked being reinterpreted as calculated deception. Beyond palace walls, rumors began to surface with increasing urgency. Royal correspondents hinted at an undisclosed discovery, their words cloaked in ambiguity yet charged with intrigue. The public, ever captivated by the mystique of the monarchy, responded with fascination and speculation. Questions multiplied. What had been uncovered? Who had known? And what did it mean for Queen Camilla's standing within the royal hierarchy? The absence of clarity only intensified the intrigue, transforming whispers into a growing chorus of anticipation. At the center of the storm stood the historian, burdened by the knowledge that had set these events into motion. Fear shadowed every step, not as a threat but as a quiet, persistent presence. The consequences of revelation loomed large: professional ruin, public scrutiny, and the potential to ignite a constitutional crisis. Yet the alternative, to conceal the truth, carried its own weight of moral compromise. The historian's conscience became a battlefield where loyalty to the crown clashed with devotion to history, and the cost of either choice seemed immeasurable. As public curiosity swelled, so too did the emotional resonance of the unfolding drama. The monarchy, revered yet human, stood exposed to the same passions and vulnerabilities that had long captivated the world. The narrative of triumph and suffering, of devotion and betrayal, drew audiences ever closer, compelling them to question the fragile balance between tradition and truth. With each passing day, the tension intensified, foreshadowing a reckoning that could redefine the legacy of the crown itself. And as pressure mounts and secrecy tightens its grip, the historian faces an impossible choice: reveal the truth or protect the crown. Caught between duty and conscience, the palace historian stands at the center of a storm that could reshape history. To reveal the document is to risk the collapse of royal credibility. To conceal it is to betray the very essence of truth. Haunted by the weight of their discovery, the historian must decide whether loyalty to the crown outweighs loyalty to history. For years, the historian had lived a life devoted to quiet scholarship and unwavering service, a custodian of royal memory whose existence unfolded in the margins of power rather than at its center. Their reputation had been built upon precision, discretion, and an almost reverent respect for the monarchy's legacy. Raised in a household steeped in tradition, they had long believed that history was not merely a record of events, but a sacred trust, one meant to illuminate truth, not conceal it. It was this belief that had guided every decision, every discovery, every silent step through the corridors of Windsor. Yet now, that guiding principle had become a burden, threatening to unravel everything they had sworn to protect. Sleep became elusive in the days that followed the discovery. Nights stretched endlessly, haunted by the echo of ink on parchment and the unrelenting whisper of consequence. The document's words lingered in memory, repeating with quiet insistence, demanding acknowledgement. Doubt crept in like a shadow, accompanied by a growing sense of isolation. The historian, once anchored by certainty, now found themselves adrift between loyalty and truth, each choice carrying a cost too profound to measure. The silence of the archives seemed to follow them beyond palace walls, an unspoken reminder that history, once awakened, could never be returned to its slumber. In search of clarity, the historian confided in a small circle of trusted allies, scholars, advisors, and confidants whose counsel had long been valued. Their conversations unfolded in hushed tones, laden with caution and unease. Some urged restraint, warning that revelation would fracture the fragile stability of the monarchy. Others, bound by conscience, argued that truth must prevail, no matter how disruptive its consequences. Each voice carried conviction, yet none offered certainty. The decision remained deeply personal, a solitary reckoning shaped by integrity, fear, and an unyielding sense of responsibility. Pressure from palace officials soon followed, delivered with quiet diplomacy rather than overt command. Their words were measured, their intentions cloaked in reverence for tradition. They spoke of duty, of continuity, of the delicate balance upon which the crown endured. To reveal the document, they warned, would risk igniting a crisis capable of eroding public trust and destabilizing the monarchy's foundation. The implication was clear. Even if unspoken, silence was not merely preferred, it was expected. The historian listened, composed yet unsettled, acutely aware that loyalty to the institution now stood in direct opposition to loyalty to history itself. The ethical dilemma deepened with each passing day. Truth promised clarity but threatened upheaval. Silence offered stability yet demanded complicity. The historian grappled with the realization that their choice would echo far beyond the present moment, shaping not only public perception, but the legacy of an entire era. Fear of backlash loomed large: the scrutiny of the public, the judgment of scholars, the irreversible consequences of revelation. History, once unveiled, could not be undone, and the weight of its impact pressed heavily upon the conscience. In quiet moments of reflection, the document itself became a symbol locked away in darkness. Hidden from the world, it had the power to transform. It lay dormant yet potent, a silent testament to decisions made in secrecy and truths deferred by time. Its presence was both a burden and a calling, reminding the historian that history does not belong to those who conceal it, but to those who dare to confront it. As resolve began to take shape, suspense tightened its hold. The historian stood poised on the brink of action, aware that a single decision could alter the course of the monarchy and redefine its legacy for generations. The choice was inevitable, the consequences unavoidable, and the silence surrounding the secret grew ever more fragile. But outside the palace walls, rumors begin to spread, igniting a media firestorm that threatens to expose everything. In an age of relentless media scrutiny, secrets rarely remain hidden for long. As whispers of the mysterious document reach journalists and royal watchers, speculation erupts into a global frenzy. Headlines blaze with questions, and public opinion teeters on the brink of outrage. Could this revelation shatter Camilla's royal standing and redefine the future of the monarchy? What began as a guarded secret within palace walls soon found its way into the wider world, carried by anonymous voices and veiled disclosures. A single leak, subtle, ambiguous, yet electrifying, ignited a storm of speculation that no institution could contain. Royal correspondents, long attuned to the rhythms of the crown, sensed the tremor beneath the silence. Hints of a hidden document, sealed by royal authority and buried for generations, began to circulate in hushed tones. The story was elusive, its details incomplete, yet its implications were unmistakable. Something monumental had been uncovered, and the world was determined to know what it was. Within hours, media speculation surged with unstoppable momentum. International headlines questioned the very foundation of Camilla's royal standing, framing the revelation as a crisis of legitimacy with consequences that could reverberate across history. Commentators dissected every rumor, every coded statement, every conspicuous silence from Buckingham Palace. The narrative expanded beyond scandal into constitutional uncertainty, transforming curiosity into urgency. News cycles pulsed with anticipation, each update fueling a global appetite for answers that the palace had yet to provide. Public reaction unfolded with dramatic intensity. Shock gave way to disbelief, disbelief to outrage, and outrage to an insatiable demand for truth. For some, the allegations represented a betrayal of trust. For others, they were an inevitable reckoning with a past long shrouded in secrecy. Across continents, conversations ignited in homes, cafes, and public forums, each voice adding to the growing chorus of speculation. The monarchy, once an emblem of continuity and dignity, now found itself scrutinized with unprecedented fervor, its mystique challenged by the very history it sought to preserve. Social media amplified the storm with relentless force. Hashtags surged, petitions circulated, and digital campaigns demanded transparency from the crown. Supporters defended tradition with fervent loyalty, while critics called for accountability with equal passion. The debate became a global spectacle, a collision of reverence and skepticism played out in real time. Every rumor gained momentum, Every denial invited further scrutiny, and every silence intensified the suspense. In this age of instant communication, the monarchy's most carefully guarded secret had become the world's most compelling mystery. Royal commentators and constitutional experts entered the fray, their analyses lending gravity to the unfolding crisis. Debates erupted over the potential implications of the document, with scholars and historians weighing its significance against centuries of precedent. Could a revelation of this magnitude challenge the legitimacy of a reigning queen? Could it destabilize the delicate balance between tradition and modern accountability? The questions were profound, their answers uncertain, and the stakes impossibly high. Amid the mounting scrutiny, the emotional toll upon the royal family deepened. Silence became their shield, yet it offered little refuge from the relentless tide of speculation. Loyalties were tested, reputations scrutinized, and the burden of expectation pressed heavily upon those closest to the throne. The crown, long accustomed to weathering storms, now faced a tempest unlike any before, a crisis born not of rumor alone, but of history itself. Pressure upon palace officials intensified with each passing hour. Advisors convened in secrecy, strategies were drafted, and statements carefully considered yet withheld. The world demanded clarity, but the palace remained resolute, bound by tradition and the gravity of consequence. Every moment of silence magnified the intrigue, transforming anticipation into a palpable tension that gripped audiences across the globe. And as speculation reached its fevered peak, a single truth became undeniable: revelation was inevitable. The document, once hidden in darkness, now hovered on the brink of exposure, its contents poised to reshape the narrative of the monarchy forever. As the world waits for answers, the palace prepares for a response that could change history forever. Behind palace gates, an unprecedented crisis unfolds. Advisors gather, strategies are drafted, and the crown faces one of its greatest tests in modern history. With the monarchy's reputation hanging in the balance, a single decision could determine whether Camilla retains her royal position or loses it forever. The world watches, breath held, awaiting the crown's verdict. Within the guarded sanctity of the palace, urgency replaces ceremony. Senior royal advisors convene in emergency councils, their deliberations cloaked in discretion, yet charged with unmistakable gravity. Constitutional experts, historians, and trusted confidants assemble in quiet consultation, each acutely aware that the monarchy stands at a precipice. Words are measured, arguments weighed, and traditions invoked with solemn reverence. The discovery of the document has ignited a crisis not merely of reputation, but of legitimacy, one capable of reshaping the crown's standing in the modern world. Strategic discussions unfold with meticulous precision, focused on containment and control. Public relations advisors craft responses with surgical care, balancing transparency against the imperative to preserve stability. Every phrase is scrutinized, every silence calculated. The monarchy, long defined by its mastery of restraint, now confronts an era that demands accountability. Damage control becomes an art of survival, and survival itself becomes a delicate negotiation between truth and tradition. The stakes are monumental, and the margin for error vanishingly small. Amid these deliberations, the emotional strain within the royal family deepens. Private anxieties ripple through the household, testing loyalties and exposing the fragile humanity beneath centuries of regal composure. Camilla stands at the center of the storm, her journey from controversy to acceptance, now shadowed by uncertainty. Those closest to her grapple with fear and resolve in equal measure, bound by duty yet burdened by the possibility that history itself may challenge her place within the monarchy. Silence becomes both shield and prison, protecting the crown even as it intensifies the tension within. Debate intensifies over the document's authenticity. Should its contents be acknowledged, denied, or dismissed as misinterpretation? Each option carries consequences that extend far beyond the present moment. To release it risks igniting public upheaval and constitutional scrutiny. To suppress it invites suspicion and erodes trust. The question lingers with relentless urgency: can the monarchy endure in an age that demands transparency, or must it cling to the traditions that have safeguarded its survival for centuries? Historical parallels loom large in every conversation. Advisors recall past crises, abdications, scandals, and controversies that once threatened the throne yet ultimately strengthened its resolve. Each precedent serves as both warning and reassurance, a reminder that the crown has endured by adapting to the relentless march of time. Yet this moment feels different, more perilous, more profound. The document challenges not merely perception, but the very narrative upon which modern royalty has been built. At the heart of the crisis lies a symbolic struggle between tradition and transparency. The monarchy, steeped in ritual and legacy, now faces the relentless scrutiny of a modern world that demands truth without compromise. Reverence collides with accountability, and the outcome remains uncertain. The crown's enduring mystique hangs in delicate balance, poised between preservation and transformation. Anticipation rises as preparations for an official statement reach their final stages. Across the globe, audiences wait in tense expectation, their attention fixed upon a single moment that promises to redefine history. Every word to be spoken carries the weight of centuries, every silence the echo of consequence. The world watches, united by curiosity and suspense, as the monarchy stands on the threshold of revelation. And as the crown prepares to deliver its verdict, uncertainty lingers like a gathering storm. The decision, once made, will resonate through generations, shaping the legacy of the royal family and the future of the institution itself. All paths converge upon a single, inevitable moment, one that will determine whether the monarchy emerges strengthened or forever altered. Yet as the moment of truth arrives, the historian's revelation promises a finale no one could have predicted. As dawn breaks over Buckingham Palace, history stands on the edge of transformation. The sealed document, once hidden in silence, now emerges into the light, threatening to unravel decades of carefully guarded secrets. In a moment that will echo through generations, the truth is revealed. Will it end Camilla's royal position forever, or redefine the monarchy's legacy for years to come? The unveiling arrives not with spectacle, but with solemn inevitability. After weeks of speculation and mounting pressure, the crown releases the document that had long remained entombed within Windsor's shadowed archives. Its contents, once whispered in secrecy, now resonate across the world with astonishing force. The words are measured, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. They speak of decisions made in silence, of truths deferred for the sake of stability, and of a legacy shaped as much by concealment as by continuity. In that moment, the fragile boundary between myth and history dissolves, and the monarchy's most guarded narrative stands exposed to public scrutiny. Global reaction is immediate and unprecedented. News networks interrupt their broadcasts, commentators analyze each line with feverish intensity, and audiences across continents absorb the revelation with a mixture of awe, disbelief, and fascination. The story transcends borders, igniting debates in parliaments, universities, and living rooms alike. Headlines question legitimacy, tradition, and accountability, while historians and constitutional experts weigh the implications with sober gravity. The world watches as the British monarchy, long a symbol of endurance, faces its most profound reckoning in modern memory. Within the royal household, the emotional fallout is both private and profound. Silence becomes a sanctuary for those burdened by the weight of revelation, yet it offers little comfort against the tide of public scrutiny. Camilla's journey, once defined by resilience and gradual acceptance, now stands suspended in uncertainty. Loyalties are tested, hearts are heavy, and the cost of history's truth reverberates through the corridors of power. The human dimension of the crown emerges with striking clarity, revealing vulnerability beneath the grandeur, and reminding the world that even royalty is not immune to the consequences of the past. Speculation intensifies regarding Camilla's future and the legitimacy of her royal standing. Some voices call for accountability, demanding clarity and resolution. Others defend tradition, insisting that the monarchy's survival depends upon its continuity. The debate becomes a symbolic clash between past and present, between reverence and reform. Each perspective adds to the crescendo, shaping a narrative that transcends scandal and evolves into a defining moment for the institution itself. At the heart of this historic reckoning lies a powerful confrontation between tradition and truth. The monarchy, steeped in ritual and legacy, now stands face-to-face with the modern world's demand for transparency. Centuries of ceremonial dignity collide with the unrelenting force of revelation, creating a moment both symbolic and transformative. The crown, once shielded by silence, must now reconcile its storied past with the expectations of an era that values openness above all else. Amid the unfolding drama, reflection turns to the historian whose courage brought the hidden truth into the light. Their decision, forged in solitude and moral conviction, reshaped the narrative of a nation and altered the trajectory of the monarchy itself. In choosing integrity over silence, they became both witness and catalyst, a solitary figure whose devotion to history ignited a transformation that could not be undone. Their legacy, like the document they uncovered, will endure as a testament to the enduring power of truth. The implications are profound and far-reaching. The British monarchy, forged through centuries of triumph and turmoil, now faces a future defined by introspection and change. Whether this revelation weakens or strengthens the institution remains uncertain, but its impact will resonate through generations, reshaping perceptions of legitimacy, loyalty, and leadership. History has turned a page, and the consequences of that turning will echo long into the future. Yet even as the world absorbs the magnitude of the revelation, an air of ambiguity lingers. Questions remain unanswered, interpretations contested, and the full truth obscured by the passage of time. The story concludes not with certainty, but with a haunting sense of possibility, a reminder that history is never static, and that every revelation uncovers new mysteries waiting to be told. And as the echoes of revelation fade into history, one question remains: how many secrets still lie hidden within the walls of the crown?